Hi, I'm Kylie. I'm a retired paramedic and this is Everyday Ambo, where I share the life lessons learned from a career on the front line. This is lesson number 9, check your expectations. Today I'm talking about expectations, how to check them and what happens if you don't. I think this is the biggest secret weapon in creating a less stressful life. But it's not just psychology. You can't learn this stuff in a book. You have to put it into action and be tolerant of the discomfort it creates. That's where the learning comes. If you can do that, you win. We all know what it's like to have our expectations go unmet. You know what I mean. We expect something of someone and they don't do it. We expect them to use their manners and they don't. We expect someone to behave in a certain way, like holding a door open behind them for someone following. And when they don't, it feels rude. We expect people to use their indicators when they're changing lanes. And it's frustrating when they don't. We expect people to be fair, honest and law-abiding. And when they're not, we feel wronged and upset. We expect people to feel certain ways, and when they don't, it can be annoying or even hurt us. We expect certain responses, we expect certain outcomes, and we expect we are right to expect them, so much so that we collect friends who agree with our expectations. So what are expectations? We all have them. It's the way we think things should work or should be. They are shaped by our personal beliefs, our life experiences, the lessons and the rules we have been taught, our hopes and our assumptions about how things will turn out. They are based on our emotions and create our subjective understanding of the world. Not to be confused with predictions. Predictions are objective, fact-based, and less emotional. We make predictions based on data collection and how we understand patterns to work. We often bias our own expectations by biasing the data we use to make predictions. If you collect a jar of green lollies, you can easily guess that you'll get a green one when you randomly select one from your lolly jar. This doesn't mean that there's only green lollies in the world, it just makes it seem so. When applied to humans, expectations and predictions can get messy because human behaviour is contingent on a tapestry of interwoven factors. We can expect outcomes and we can predict when they are likely to happen, and we can be surprised when our predictions don't match our expectation. The surprise can feel positive or negative, and that's based on our emotional investment. I learned about my own expectations while working amongst the community. I had expectations that I could accurately predict prior to my work as a paramedic. I expected people call an emergency service when they have a life-threatening emergency, and I predicted that if they make that call, then they must have one. This expectation derived from my own lived experiences at the time, as my only experience with emergency services derived from that behaviour. In my world, this is how emergency services were used. I quickly learned that this was not the general expectation within the community, who expected an emergency response from an emergency vehicle for all sorts of life challenges, including changing smoke alarm batteries, turning light switches off, and checking for noises under the bed. I also quickly learnt that I couldn't accurately predict what I'd been called to attend. I had an expectation and a prediction discrepancy, and it started off as surprising, and eventually it got frustrating. Very frustrating. Was there something wrong with them or something wrong with my belief? The reality was that something was wrong, and the numbers were piling up in their favour. When expectations aren't met, friction is created between our inner world and our outer world. This creates drama at best, and at worst it creates trauma as our worldviews are smashed by the reality. Drama can feel fun, making life interesting. But then, drama creates more drama, and it has a snowball effect. And before you know it, life is full of friction challenging your expectations, and it can be very scary. As social animals, we spend a lot of time checking our worldview. We do this by sharing our expectations with others as we interact. We behave in ways that we expect and predict will elicit particular responses. If we're pessimistic, we expect a negative outcome, but we predict it'll rarely happen. So we are mostly pleasantly surprised. If we are an optimist, we expect positive outcomes, but we predict on occasion it won't happen. So we are also mostly pleasantly surprised. Whichever way we expect things to turn out, we are most often right. And this is because we have formulated our methods of aligning our expectations and our predictions, so that as long as we get the alignment correct, we have our positive outcome and we release dopamine. It doesn't really matter how things turn out, so long as we get the prediction and the expectation alignment right, because it feels good. And we are all about the good feelings. When it doesn't feel good, we know we didn't get the alignment right. This discomfort is a message from our internal world of expectations. We don't like being wrong because our primitive brain believes that being wrong can cost us our lives. And it's true. I've seen plenty of people who lost their lives because they got it wrong. Very wrong. There can be a huge cost for not getting the alignment correct, and this is why our minds work so hard to learn and to adapt so we don't make the same mistakes again. Of course, many of us do make the same mistakes again. And again. And again. Do you know why? It's all about how we are checking our expectations. The way to check your expectations is to have them challenged. And the only way to have them challenged is to surround yourself with people who don't think the same way as you do. And most of us aren't doing that. We surround ourselves with like-minded people, and we have a normalcy bias. And this means that we all believe that things are going to turn out the way that they normally do. And this can lead to inadequate preparation owing to disbelief and ignoring the warning signs. If you check your expectations with like-minded people, then you'll all be as ill-prepared as each other. What if everybody is wrong? Have you ever noticed that when one person doesn't agree with you, that's all you think about? That's because we have a negativity bias as well. This makes us focus on the opposing view because our primitive brain wants to know as a matter of survival if it's important information to know. And there is sometimes a little niggling in your mind that worries they might be right. Well, I've done a little experiment, and I'm here to tell you that the only time I get that little niggle is when I know that they are right, and I don't get that niggle when they aren't. This is my perfect little alarm system, and it informs me of what I need to listen to in the external environment. The niggle means I need to pay attention. No niggle means I'm good to ignore. If you only surround yourself with people who agree with you, it's easy to ignore the niggle or block out the niggle altogether. Humans need novelty to get our attention. It's the way our brains are wired. Without novelty, everything can become white noise. There is just too much going on in the environment for us to notice everything, so we just stay alert to the changes. If we try to control the elements and regulate our environment, then things can come at us amongst the white noise, and we won't hear the warnings, and then we will wonder why no one warned us. And that's because no one else saw it coming either, because we surround ourselves with like-minded people. I know this because it happened to me, and I've seen it happen to hundreds of other people. Life has a way of walking straight up to us and punching us in the face, and quite often it does it without any physical contact at all, as a family member is suddenly ripped out of your life or has a significant accident that changes life as you know it. We think things happen just like that. But life is contingent on the moment before and the moment before that. It's turtles all the way down, but only if you take notice. I had an expectation that life was just going to keep on carrying on, and I just needed to be tough enough to handle it. And then suddenly I wake up one morning and my life is completely different. The life that I knew was in a dusty haze behind me. Mostly all the people had changed, and I barely recognised myself. I used to always be right. And nowadays, I can hardly trust my expectations or my predictions. I seem to get it wrong every time. Lucky for me, I've always been a pessimist, and the worst case scenarios rarely happen in my new world, beyond the ambulance. Suddenly, in this new world, I'm a lot like Chicken Little in some ways, and more like Dory in others. In the old world, I was taught to check my kits. In my new world, I'm still doing my checks, but now they sound more like checking my expectations. What do I expect? Why do I expect that? And what else could be true? Because I know now I expect a life-threatening emergency, because that's what I'm trained to respond to. And what else could be true is that I just couldn't get my mind around the reality that it's often anything but an emergency, and that I was wrong. And that's the reality. I wonder if that could be your reality too.